Okay, I'm going to make a stencil with this lure body I got. This is called the Blitz, and I get that at dingerbaits.com. It's about medium diver. It goes down about 7 feet. But the first step is to make a stencil is I'm going to cut this in half, and I use a Dremel with a cutting wheel on it. And I also marked the back of the lure so I have something to follow and cut a straight line if both sides are even. I've seen some people do stencils and keep the bill on. I found it easier, I will end up cutting the bill off and it doesn't make a difference. In fact, I could probably use the same stencil on one of my wake baits, which the body's very, very similar. So I'm going to go really slow, and I'm going to cut up this line, and you will see that because the wheel moves so fast, some of the plastic's going to melt. That will come off, and I can actually sand some of it off, some of the rough edges too. So always wear eye protection. Pretty close to being even. Doesn't be perfect, but it'll get tricky when you cut down in there where that metal ball is. It may spark a little bit. Or when you hit the hook hanger. There's the ball. There's the bill, and now I'm going to use these forceps to just pry it open. Careful, that plastic still may be a little hot. Actually, I'm going to use I thought I had a screwdriver here, but use this. Get in here. Oops, I had a little bit more plastic to cut here. Be very careful prying this open so you don't break anything. There he goes. There you go. And I actually take the hook hangers off. Some people keep them on. And see all the excess plastic? You can just pull that right off. Just like that. Perfect. There's some extra plastic there that melted. Comes right off. Hope you can see this, because I can't get the GoPro previewer to work on my phone. So, I have 2 halves, and now I'm going to actually lay these onto my vacuum forming box, which I will show you next. Okay, so I'm taking the cut lure halves and laying them on a vacuum form box that I built out of wood, and the top part here is just some thin paneling, and I cut a bunch of holes and attached my shop vac to one side. And now I have some 20mm PEG plastic I got on eBay. This is a 6x6 piece. You can get 12x12s and cut them yourself. Either way, this is just takes less time. I don't have to cut. And I do both sides at a time, and I'll have to do 2, maybe 3 of each side, so I can do, for instance, a crawfish stencil, and we'll show you how that is all done after I make the stencils. There's probably a lot of ways people do this. This just happens to be the easiest way, so I take some pliers and I hold it in the corner of the stencil sheet. I have a Wagner heat gun, and I'm going to turn it up to high and 1150 degrees. And then as the plastic becomes really soft, then I'll lay it over the bait. Alright, so I'm going to turn the vacuum on. And there we go. You want to try to avoid some of these wrinkles, but I think that'll be okay. It's not really in the way. Pull it up. And let it cool just a little bit. Because when I pop these lure bodies out, I don't want the plastic to bend. I should take a little X-Acto knife here and just pop it out just like that. Come right out. And there's your stencil. Okay. And I'm going to do one more, and then I'll show you how we cut these. Okay, I'm going to do one more set. Spread it out a little bit more. Okay, vacuum's coming on, and the heat gun. Try to do that in wrinkles this time. Heat around the body. There you have it. You don't want to apply too much heat this close because you may warp the lure bodies, and I've had that happen, especially with my 1.5 square bills. Just cool them off a little bit here. And then pop them up. There you go. Alright, and I'm just going to do one more. I'm not going to videotape it, but I'm going to do one more just to have as a backup in case something happens with cutting the stencils later. Okay, so I got my stencils made, and then what I did is I took the lure half and I drew a crawfish pattern on both sides of them. And now I'll take the stencils that I made, put them over the lure body, and I'll trace my pattern onto the stencil. And I'll do 2 of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut these out for the crawfish pattern. But I'm going to cut out every other one. I'll cut out this one and this one. And then on the other stencil for this side, I'll cut out just the center one. You do that because when you paint, now you'll have a hard edge. So I'm going to trace these up, and then I'll show you how I cut them. Okay, I'm going to use a Dremel tool with a very, very small etching bit, which I got at Home Depot. And you can use an X-Acto knife, but sometimes with an X-Acto knife it takes a little bit more work to get through the plastic. This makes quick work for it. So I got my sections X'd out, and we'll get cutting. section. I'm going to cut out the next section here. You're going to go in with probably like you can do an X-Acto knife and just clean some of this up a little bit, and then sand it. Also sand on the inside here so it doesn't scratch your bait when you're painting. So I'm going to do this other section here for you, and then I'm going to finish all these up and not bore you. Here's the other section. So now when you put it on your lure, you will paint just around in here and in here for this section. And now when you cut the other half, you may have to do some adjustments so the edge of this stencil really matches up with the one you just cut here. Alright, so I'm going to finish these up, and I'll show you where you... Okay, I got my stencils all cut out, and I actually had to cut out a little part of this edge here so I can get around the bill of the bait. And after I cut it, kind of test fit everything. That fits good. I also had to cut a little bit down here on the bottom where that hook hanger was. That was preventing the stencil from being flush onto the body. So here's all the pieces. There's where'd the other one go? So here's these two sections cut out, and then here is the middle section cut out. Again, I do this so when you're painting, you'll have a hard edge for that cross shell. And that's how that's done. If you want to know how to paint a crawfish pattern, I do have another video there on YouTube for you to check out. Thanks again for viewing, and please subscribe.